I was invited here to, I'm a person who is traveling around the world with a specific message. And my message is that for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, there are two parts, two sides, which is Israel and the Palestinians. Unfortunately, all of the world is only talking about Israel, and no one is mentioning the all internal obstacles within the Palestinians themselves. I think that the division among the Palestinians, Gaza divided from the West Bank since 2007, the lack of a goodwill from the both leaders of Fatah and Hamas to reach any kind of unity or any kind of reconciliation, I think that that's also considered as one of the obstacles in front of any future peace process on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So my message is how to raise more and more awareness among the international community about my own internal problems. Because the message that I am trying to spread, how to achieve a kind of help from the international community in terms to solve my internal problems. Without solving my internal problems, I don't believe that any peace will take place between the Palestinians and the Israelis.
And what do you need from the international community?
I need more pressure on their own governments, first of all. I think that the international community is a big part of the conflict right now. And the international community used to donate hundreds of billions of dollars to that conflict. So I want to raise awareness among the students community, first of all, that these students probably will be able to impose a kind of pressure on their governments and on their representatives. That the Palestinian issue should have to be raised with all of its complex, not just to stand up and to blame Israel on what's going on. I think that the message to these students that I want to tell them, please stop considering me as the victim of the occupation and start considering me as the victim of my own leadership.
And last week you were in Chicago and
Yeah.
you had some problems with, you had some death threats.
Yeah, I think, I think that at Chicago University there was several opposition group, like the Students for Justice for Palestine, like the BDS, like the J Street, like the Jewish Voice for Peace. And these people, their main aim is how to provoke the realities on the ground. These people considered me as a liar because my political strategy is not affiliated with their own political strategy. These people expecting me to come to criticize Israel and to handle all of our problems, the Palestinians, on the Israeli occupation. I am a much more realistic person than that. I think that I am a person with a wonderful message which can probably contribute to peace. But such kind of organizations like the BDS and the J Street, I think that these people are totally against any peace process between the Palestinians and the Israelis. And what these people are trying to achieve is how to destroy the state of Israel. As a Palestinian, I think that destroying the state of Israel will never benefit me, will never help my own people.
How did you manage to survive with this message?
I think that I am probably in the past 26 years, I became so critical. Probably I started my human rights career when I started criticizing the Palestinian Authority human rights violations against the Palestinians. And that gave me a huge popularity among the Palestinians, that I put myself under danger in terms to protect the rights of my own people from my own government. So that's created almost a huge respect between myself and between the society. So the society is still remembering the good times and the good work that I almost conducted on their behalf, and probably this is one of the major issues of protections and the major issue of impunity that right now I am still surviving, even that I am living in the West Bank.
And now there is a wave of violence, and innocent citizens are being knifed in the streets.
Unfortunately, yes.
What do you think of that?
I think that the major problem of the current storm of violence, which approximately started since probably 6 months ago, I think that the incitement of the Palestinian Authority is trying to escalate the situation right now in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. Why? Because the Palestinian Authority became so frustrated from the international community that in the past 3 years, no one is talking about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. No one is mentioning the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, even the American administration. So the Palestinian Authority believes that if violence will raise up, that probably will bring more attention from the international community towards the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And this is the major reason why the Palestinian Authority decided on such a storm of violence in terms to raise awareness among the international community. And looks like that the Palestinian Authority almost succeed. Look to France now. They want to conduct an international conference on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And that's exactly what the Palestinian leadership is demanding in the past 3 years. So now they achieved the goal. The question is, if such conference by the French will succeed, is that conference will decrease the storm of violence which is taking place right now in the West Bank and in East Jerusalem? I am still doubt about that, because looks like to me that my leadership is not interested in any kind of peace with Israel. And my leadership is dealing with the conflict as a commercial conflict rather than it is a political one. I think that the Palestinian leadership would love to see this conflict continue, because while the conflict is continue, more money and more power the Palestinian Authority is going to gain.
Today, one of the ministers in Israel said that the Palestinian Authority is dissolving. It is, what do you think?
No, I think that they are still exist, because while the international community is still transferring money and donations and financial support, that means that the Palestinian Authority still exists. If Mr. Abbas is still accepted by the international community as the legitimate president of the Palestinians, means that the Palestinian Authority is still exist. I think, looks like to me, that the existing of the Palestinian Authority is one of the Israeli interest. I don't think that the Israelis want to see the Palestinian Authority collapsing. I think that the Palestinian Authority, on the security issues, Israel is benefiting from them, and this is one of the major reasons why Israel don't want to see the Palestinian Authority collapsing. So the minister, the Israeli minister, can say whatever he wants, but everybody knows what is the policy of the Israeli government right now towards the Palestinian Authority.
And do you think Mr. Mahmoud Abbas is a good leader for the Palestinians?
Of course not. Of course not.
Who would be your choice?
Yeah, that's a problem also. I think that one of the major problems of the Palestinians, I am not really willing, even to run with any a coming political party. In my opinion, Mahmoud Abbas is a person who don't want to see for himself any vice of president or any successor. He don't want. And this is one of the major problems of the Palestinians, that there is a kind of a lack of a leadership. Unfortunately, we don't have leadership. With all the criticism of the Palestinian people towards Abbas, if any elections will take place tomorrow in the West Bank, Abbas will be re-elected because there is no alternative. Because Abbas used to fight any kind of opposition. He used to oppress any kind of opposition. And this is why we don't have the alternative leaders. Sometimes when I talk to Palestinians, and I suggested as an example, Muhammad Dahlan, who is right now expelled by Abbas to outside the territories, and right now he is living in Dubai. When I mentioned the name of Muhammad Dahlan, then people said, listen, but Muhammad Dahlan also corrupt. I said, you are right, but I prefer a young corrupt than an old corrupt. And this is the difference between the young and the old. I think that Mahmoud Abbas right now is not in a good brain, couldn't refresh his own brain. He is 81 years old. While we are talking about Muhammad Dahlan, who is 54 years old, I think that Muhammad Dahlan probably can contribute to his own people much more than Mahmoud Abbas. At least Muhammad Dahlan developed in a refugee camp in Gaza, and he knows exactly what his people are suffering from.
What mistake did Israel make in Gaza?
Oh, I think that it was one of the Israeli historical mistakes was the Israeli disengagement from Gaza in 2005. I think that is such kind of unilateral decision almost caused damage to the Israelis and to the Palestinians. I remember when Ariel Sharon declared on his plan to disengage from Gaza. Every Palestinian leader start running from one TV show to another TV show by saying, we are ready to control Gaza. And if Israel will leave Gaza, we are going to make from Gaza Singapore. I never been in Singapore, but I'm wondering if Singapore have the similar situation like Gaza. I think that we, the Palestinians, almost destroyed in Gaza what remains from the Israeli occupation. And if you will look to the people right now in Gaza, they are saying that we almost missed the settlements in Gaza. Because looks like that the settlements in Gaza used to be one of the most sources of income to the Palestinians. Unfortunately, right now, they are not only blockaded from Israel, they also blockade from Egypt, and people would love to see themselves far away from Gaza today before tomorrow.
And what mistakes is Israel making today?
I think, in my opinion, if the Israeli government believes in the solution of the two-state solution, I think we should have to start with it from today before tomorrow. Because looks like to me, looks like to me that with the time, this solution became weak and weak and weak. And if we, the Israelis and the Palestinians, will lose such creative solution, which is the two-state solution, then probably the other side or the other alternative will be the one-state solution. And if the solution will be one-state solution, then Israel couldn't come and say that I want to claim my Jewish state in Israel. That will put an end for any kind of dream of any Jewish guy to think that he will be under a Jewish state. So I think that it is a good opportunity, in my opinion, that the Israelis should have to think a lot. In my opinion, the Israelis are paying a very high price for the occupation. And I don't think that the Israelis deserve such kind of high price. I think that the Israeli medical issues, the Israeli education issues are suffering more and more. And this is because that the majority of the yearly budget of the Israelis is going to the settlements and it's going to the military. So the Israelis should have to start thinking probably 1 million times. If we should have to continue with our occupation to the Palestinians, or we should have to find a solution. Probably today will be much more easier to reach a solution than in the coming 2 or 3 or 5 years.
What would be your solution?
See, my solution is that I would love to see a creation of an economic sources within the Palestinian territories. I'm not very, by the way, I'm not very hurry towards the state. No. I think, no, I'm not, because a state which is going to be in a lack of infrastructure of the state, this is not a state. 2 years ago, 138 countries in the UN recognized the Palestinian state. But where is the state? Can you show me the state? Where are the borders of the state? Where are the economic sources of the state? Where is the infrastructure of the state? So my suggestion to the international community, please start working on building the state before you are recognizing the state.
Israel withdraws from the West Bank. Wouldn't it be the greatest danger for Palestinians? They would be vulnerable. They have aggressive people around them. Hamas, Syria, Islamic State waiting to get in.
Yeah, I believe that the situation right now, it is very difficult. And this is one of the reasons why I said that I am really not so hurry for the state. So probably we need a period of time. But during the period of time, 2 things we have to achieve: economic sources and infrastructure of the state, and also to watch what is surrounding us in the Middle East. You are right. If you look today to the Middle East map, you will find that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is the most safe place in the Middle East. I don't want to be in Syria. I don't want to be in Iraq. I don't want to be in Libya. I don't want to be in Yemen. I want to be in the territories right now, because this is the only place that I can get the feeling that I am safe, I am protected, and I can guarantee the future of my children. But still, we should have to work internally. As I said, economically, the infrastructure, and probably that will take for 5, 6, 7 years. And then we will see which kind of a new Middle East we are going to receive.
And what do you think of the way the United States is acting in the region?
I don't think that the United States is acting in the region. I think that the United States is totally absent from the Middle East. I think that the American administration right now has no idea what is the conflict is about. And this is what I said today during my lecture at the university. that if Mr. Obama want to understand the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, he must have to come 1 month and to live in one of the refugee camps in the West Bank or in Gaza. If he will live for 1 month, probably he will start realizing what is the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is about. But by sitting in the White House and to say, I am going to solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, I think that the conflict is so far away from the White House itself. On the other side, unfortunately, in the past 20 years, we received so many promises from 3 different presidents in the US, from Mr. Clinton for 8 years, Mr. George Bush for 8 years, Mr. Obama for 8 years, and we received just bullshit promises from them. I don't think that the American administration is serious. I don't think that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is on the agenda of the American administration, because the American administration has the top agenda right now, how to oppress and how to decrease the growing of the Islamic State in Iraq and in Syria.
So they don't care about the Palestinians?
Of course not. Of course not.
So the Israelis, they are not interested in a state, in a Palestinian state. The Americans, they don't care. So who is going to?
Why? You think that the Arab countries are care about the Palestinian state? I'm quite sure not. I think that we are playing alone in the courtyard right now, without any kind of support, let's say immoral support from the international community. Of course, that there are a lot of financial support, but I don't think that financial support solve conflicts. Conflicts need efforts, need strategies, need a kind of a map how we can solve it. But in the way how the international community is acting, I don't believe that ever there is a solution for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
What is your relationship with the settlers?
See, the settlers, I don't have really any kind of relationship with them. I don't think that the settlers are really the obstacles right now. It is the opposite. I think that the majority of the Palestinians right now believes that the settlements in the West Bank right now became a source of fund, of income. You couldn't believe that we have 15,000 Palestinian workers every day entering to the settlements and building the settlements. We are building the settlements because we want to survive, because we want to guarantee the future of our children, because we are people who are seeking dignity rather than identity. Listen, if you will look to the monthly salary in Israel, it is around $2,000 a month. But if you will look to the monthly salary under the Palestinian Authority, it is $400 a month. There is a huge difference between $400 a month and $2,000 a month. And this is why the majority of the Palestinians prefer to work under the Israelis rather than under the Palestinian Authority, even inside the settlements itself.
What was your first contact with Jews, and how has your perception evolved as for today?
See, I am born, first of all, I born in Jerusalem. When I was occupied by the Israelis, I think that I was exactly 9 years old. So I developed, I grown up with the Jews. I wasn't 40 years old, I wasn't 50 years old when the Jews occupied us. So I learned in Jewish schools. I learned the language. I work with the Jews. All of our life, sometimes I'm saying, it looks like impossible to divide or to separate between Palestinians and Israelis. It's impossible sometimes how I am looking to the situation. So I am much more a realistic person. To say, the Arab countries, in the past 68 years, they promised us that they are going to trash the state of Israel. The Arab leaders, since 1948, promised us that you are going to have a short-term suffer, but a long-term benefit, which we get exactly the opposite. We get a long-term suffer. Since 48 until today, what's happened? What's happened? Tell me. So let us be a little bit realistic. Let's say that this is the fact on the ground, that Israel exists as a strong country in the Middle East, and let us, the Palestinians, start seeking our own country. But by saying that we are going to trash Israel, by saying that we are going to throw the Jewish people into the sea, I think that I am old enough right now to discover is such kind of lies which has been submitted to us by the Arab leaders in the past 68 years.
When I interviewed the leader of the foreign press in Israel, which is a Palestinian, and he also lives in Ramallah, and he told me, I don't care what kind of place it will be, if it will be one state, two states, but I don't want my children to live under occupation. What do you think of?
See, I don't think that the problem really the occupation right now. I don't know when you met with him, but last year, probably you know things in the Middle East, it changed every moment, not every one minute or 1 hour. I think that the majority of the Palestinians right now are not care under which authority they are going to live. They are not care. What they are care about, how I can achieve my own dignity. I think that the people are looking for dignity rather than looking for anything else. And while you are looking for dignity, never mind under which kind of authority, under which kind of government you are going to live. That's correct, that the only thing that we want to achieve, how we can guarantee the future of my children. That's exactly. Never mind if the Germans are going to rule me, if the Jordanians are going to rule me, if the Israelis are going to rule me. On the other side, I think that we, the Palestinians, almost lost the trust in our own authority.
Are you optimistic?
No,
No.
unfortunately,
No.
at all not.
Why?
Because I think that without changing the current old leadership, we are not going to achieve anything. If you will look to the Palestinian leadership today, the youngest of them is 75 years old. I don't think with such kind of an old leadership we can reach any peace with the Israelis, which means that the Palestinians should have to start from today, not tomorrow, for changing their leadership and for changing the ethics of its own politics towards Israel and towards the peace process. Without changing our ethical political process, without changing the current leadership, I didn't see a light future to the Palestinians in the near future.
But the youngsters are taking knives and are going out because they are already with venom in their blood.
See, if you will look to each,
The education.
if you will look to each stabbing incident, I don't believe that it is related to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and I don't believe that it is related to the Al-Aqsa Mosque. I think that each individual has his own story behind him. I am quite sure that these people are frustrated, these people are hopeless, but it is not only from the Israelis, it is also from our authority that since Oslo until today, almost 22 years passed. What we, the Palestinians, benefit from our own leadership. How the Palestinian Authority tried to increase or to develop our daily life. Listen, if you will come to the Palestinians today, most of the people saying that before Oslo Agreement, our life used to be better. So the one who should have to be blamed on our worst life these days is the Palestinian Authority. And that's reminding me, when I am going around in the West Bank, people coming to me and asking me when Israel is going to annex the West Bank to Israel. No one asks me when the Palestinian state is going to be established or when the Palestinian state is going to be founded. So they are asking when Israel is going to annex the West Bank to Israel.
And do you think they should do that?
I don't think that the Israelis will agree. I think that the Palestinians will be more than happy to have it, but I don't think that the Israelis will do it.